Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Sorry it's been a little while. I've been sort of circulating, but I've had a few things that obviously I needed to sort out in real life, so that has to come first and foremost. Thank you for joining us. We're continuing with the Celtics and the history and such. So we're now up to our Celtic weapons, and the greatest example of Celtic metallurgy is their fighting sword. This is something, I think, like near 4 foot long weapon, and it's got its own signature, slightly extended width in the centre and ornamental hand grip. It was pretty amazing. As well, like, to engineers today, they still find the Celtic swords pretty amazing, if I'm honest. Julius Caesar had his own blacksmiths, and they examined their weapons to learn its secrets. In the end, they had zero success in duplicating the Celtic weapon, meaning the sword. The trick in the making of the weapon was simply the patience of forging. Have to be patient. The smelting, the rebending, the iron, to which it came closest example of steel that we understand today. It was a labour of love, and that made the perfect sword. The Roman sword, by comparison, was well crafted. It was an iron weapon, it was sturdy, it was strong, and it was heavy. The problem is, it was only forged and smelted once in the process. However, by changing their military tactics to make the weapon a swifter tool to manoeuvre, shortening the length, obviously, of the weapon, was key to its success. Yet, it did irk them to think the Celtic sword was a better quality device in workmanship, obviously, than theirs. They never mastered it, and not that we know of, they never got it right. Original Celtic swords can be found in just about every museum across Europe, and even museums in North America, like New York and Toronto. Yet Roman swords, on the other hand, well, are they out there in museums like Celtic swords are? I don't think so, not that I know of. On the internet, obviously, you can come across examples of Roman swords. However, you'll find that there are hundreds of Celtic swords that are so much better, and they're more often looked at as well than the Roman swords would be. In some cases, they look new, like they've never really been used, even though it's over 2,000 years old. That's a Celtic sword, and that shows you the craftsmanship in that sword. Whereas when you find a Roman sword, usually it's a bit battered, isn't it? It's there's not much left of it, so to speak. But yeah, so that's just the brief explanation on the Celtic swords that we've come about to basically say, the Romans never mastered that, and the way that they forged the swords, it was done over time, and they would smelt and they would re-smelt and they would bend and they would shape, whereas a Roman sword would simply just go and be, well, smelted once, be formed and shaped, and have done with it. They took a lot more time with theirs. They took a lot more patience, and they really worked on it. So that makes a really big difference, because it also makes them stronger, doesn't it, when you're welding metals together and you're re-smelting it and remelt. Then obviously it's going to make it stronger, but at the same time, it's not like they were super heavy and they couldn't be swung. So when we think about weapons, it's an ideal weapon, really, because though it does look beautiful, it's designed for exactly what is intended. And that's just basic on the Celtic weapon. And I think you can just literally Google and it'll come up with quite a lot. I've got a few myself. Not impressive or anything, but they're based off of like your Celtic style, I guess. one's your two-handed though, and it's more of like your Celtic woman that would carry it, I suppose. So it's not like the swords you would be looking for. I do not have a Celtic sword that's spectacular. Mine's not that. Mine's more of a woman's weapon that was two-handed and could be split up so it was hidden, usually thigh or the bottom of the boot. So mine's not a spectacular Celtic sword, I'm afraid. But yeah, they took real time forging theirs and real craftsmanship, whereas the Romans did not. They just melted it once and had done with it. But it is important to note the Romans never made a sword like the Celtic people, which really does prove a lot in the long run about their character, doesn't it? Because they were willing to take the time to craft such a tool, and the Romans were not. They just wanted them out fast, quick, boom. You like manufactured, I suppose, in a way. That's what you're really looking at. You're looking at the Roman battle, and their swords were just stuck out there, just in the smelt, out the smelt, whereas your Celtic swords that had been forged over time, it would have took them as long as it took them until they were happy with the sword. And the craftsmanship, they would have spent time creating something that was personal to them, especially in the signature handles. In these handles, usually you will find something that's personal either to that tribe that lived there or to the actual person that's made the sword. So that's why they are so very different. It's because the Celtics really did take their time and forge them properly, and the Romans were more or less manufacturing them, just whipping them in and out, so they had swords to fight with. And in the long run, that's probably not for the best. That's why when we find Roman swords, they are battered. But you can go look and search Celtic swords and you'll be surprised at what you find and the condition in which they're still in. It's quite immaculate, some of them. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. When I come back, we shall continue with Druids. We'll go into the Druid section and get a bit of that out of the way. Bye.